Many parents say magnesium was the game changer for their families. And it's a really, really great supplement with a lot of benefits. But the problem comes when, what if magnesium is not what your child needs? Welcome to the Soaring Child podcast, where parents of children with ADHD learn tips and tricks to help their child soar at home, at school, and in life. We feature interviews with experts, medical professionals, and parents just like you who are learning how to reduce ADHD symptoms using food and other natural strategies. Because children with ADHD deserve to soar just like every other child. I'm Dana Kay, your host. Hello, parents, and welcome back to another edition of the Soaring Child podcast, where we bring hope. We bring practical strategies really to help empower families just like yours. Now, if you're navigating the journey of parenting a child with ADHD, you're definitely in the right place. Each episode is packed with actionable tips and insights to really help you reduce ADHD symptoms naturally and to support your child's journey thriving in life. Now, we're here to offer you encouragement, expert guidance, and we love hearing from you as well. If our podcast has touched your life or offered you this new perspective, please consider following the podcast, leaving a review, or even sharing it with others who might benefit. Your support really helps us reach more families, spread the message that natural strategies can make a real difference in managing ADHD. And together we can build this community of hope and a community of positive change. So thank you for being a part of our journey. And we're now going to dive into today's episode because I'm sure it's something that many of you listeners are very, very interested in. Today, we're going to be talking about magnesium. You're probably thinking to yourself, how can we have a whole podcast episode on magnesium? You definitely want to take note. You definitely want to listen in, because this episode is going to show you that we can have a whole topic on magnesium. Now, there are going to be many of you listening today that have heard from another parent or from an article online that magnesium could be that huge game changer for your child with ADHD. The truth is, magnesium, it's a great supplement to start with for many people because it's used in over 300 biochemical processes in the body. 300 is a lot. Now, it's important for muscle relaxation. It's important for supporting the immune system. It's important for keeping your heartbeat steady, regulating blood glucose levels. It aids in the production of energy, just to name a few. So, some really important processes there. And many parents find that magnesium makes a surprising difference to their kids' anxiety or even depression. It aids in their sleep. It also reduces hyperactivity. And there are even studies supporting the efficacy of magnesium in anxiety, in depression, and in sleep. Now, stress depletes magnesium levels. So if you are already low in magnesium, anxiety, for example, can make your levels even worse. So it becomes this vicious cycle. So it makes a lot of sense that many parents say magnesium was the game changer for their families. And it's a really, really great supplement with a lot of benefits. But the problem comes when, what if magnesium is not what your child needs? And I remember years ago, I'm going to tell you a bit of a story. I first found out about magnesium before I went on this journey with my son. I was certain this was going to be the thing that would allow me to solve all of my son's problems. Now, a well-meaning friend heard that it worked for another family, so I spent hours and hours researching and was sure it was going to change everything for me and my son. And I scoured the internet. I found the most recommended brand. I bought it on Amazon. I was waiting patiently. And I started giving it to my son. And then I waited and kept waiting until I realized this was not going to be our game changer. In fact, for my son, magnesium actually even made his ADHD symptoms worse. And I was so discouraged because I was really convinced that Magnesium was going to be that thing that made all the difference for us. And I wish back then, when I was first trying magnesium and other supplements, that I had someone to tell me the problem wasn't likely to be solved with just magnesium. I wish I had someone tell me that a single supplement or a single food or, a single modality would not be the game changer, the big game changer for my son. And that's what I'm here to tell you now. No one supplement is going to be the game changer. There is no one size fits all approach to managing ADHD symptoms naturally. It's true that supplements can play a very, very supportive role in nutrition and healing, but sadly, no single supplement is going to solve all of your problems, which is really, really unfortunate. Now, I think in society today, we are conditioned to think that we can pop a pill and everything will go away. Our body and our children's body will continue to act a certain way, regardless of how many meds or supplements or creams we use, if we don't have a solid foundation. And that solid foundation, as you've probably heard me talk about before, is nutrition. Okay. Nutrition is that solid foundation. And that's why I always encourage the families I work with to work on diet as well. Start by getting rid of processed and inflammatory foods like that gluten, that dairy and soy, introducing more fresh whole foods, vegetables, healthy fats, and so on. I've done many podcasts on that, so you can go back and check that out if you need more information. Now, because, if our children's compromised bodies are still being pounded with inflammatory foods, no matter what supplements you give the body, you're not going to get the desired results, and you will end up wasting your money unnecessarily. So let's say you've already changed the diet, you've gotten rid of some of those top inflammatory foods, and you're feeding your child lots of whole foods instead. Then how do you know which supplement is going to be right for your child? Because like I've said before, a supplement that works wonders for one child's body might actually worsen symptoms in another child's body. And that's because each child is different. Each body is different and it needs different things. And also in the diet, they're getting different things as well. A lot of foods are rich in magnesium. And so that child might be having a lot of magnesium rich foods. So they may not need as much magnesium. So how do you know which supplements to use? And that's where I really recommend functional lab testing. And functional lab testing shows exactly what each individual child is deficient in. It really enables whoever you're working with, the practitioner, to really target supplementation based on those deficiencies and things that are going on in the body. I always strongly recommend before considering supplementation that you address diet and use specific functional lab testing to identify underlying malfunctions and stresses. Now, I did do an episode not too long ago on my favorite functional lab testing for kids with ADHD. So we'll definitely pop the link to that episode in the show notes below. But a couple of things I wanted to mention about magnesium in particular, because this episode is about magnesium in particular. It can be such a great supplement, even if you don't do lab testing, but you don't really know if the body needs it without it. There are a lot of different types of magnesiums, and the type you choose for your child just depends a lot on the specific underlying stresses and challenges your child is facing. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to share 8 different types and what they're most useful, because that's the most confusing thing. And then I'm going to share my absolute favorite magnesium for kids with ADHD. So number 1 is magnesium chelate. And this form of magnesium is especially important for muscle building, recovery, and health. So usually for kids with ADHD, not really one that you would choose. And then we've got magnesium citrate. And this form of magnesium is great to get those bowels moving when you are constipated. A lot of our kiddos have gut issues. So this can be great to get those bowels moving. But if you want to help other symptoms, definitely not the go-to in trying to boost up those magnesium levels. Then you've got magnesium glycinate. This is one of my favorite, not my all-time favorite, but one of my favorite types of magnesium. This form of magnesium is often used to help with stomach upset, heartburn, and acid indigestion. Obviously, those aren't tailored for ADHD, but it can be great for anxiety, for calming, and also pain management. So that anxiety and that calming and sleep are really great, things that come with that magnesium glycinate. Next, we've got magnesium malate. And magnesium malate can help with migraines, chronic pain, depression. It can also improve the mood as well. Then we've got magnesium sucrosomial. And this form of magnesium, it helps energy production. It also supports the immune system, and it also supports bone health. Number 6 is magnesium taurate, and this form of magnesium is best for your heart. For your heart. Magnesium taurate also supports the nervous system, energy production, blood pressure, sleep, and digestion. We've then got magnesium orotate, and this can also be helpful for heart. Magnesium orotate is also beneficial for metabolic systems. And then we've got magnesium L-threonate. And there are studies that suggest that this type of magnesium is superior to other forms of magnesium at getting through that blood-brain barrier. Now, that means this particular type of magnesium can be really great at supporting brain function, health, brain health, and cognitive function as well. So you can see that using magnesium is not just as simple as running to your local pharmacy and picking up any bottle. Formulation definitely does matter. Now, I promised that I would share my favorite magnesium for children with ADHD, and I'm definitely not going to leave you hanging. Now, there are 2 forms that I like, okay? The first one, wow, if you are watching on YouTube, you would have just seen that balloons just came up on my screen. For those that are listening on the podcast station, you wouldn't have seen the balloons, but they just come up on my screen. I got an Apple computer, and all of a sudden I get these, thumbs ups. I get these, when I do thumbs down, I get rain that goes along the screen. So you guys can see it if you're watching this on YouTube. I get also these fireworks. If I put both of my thumbs up, I get these fireworks. But I am not going to leave you hanging. You don't want to know about these lovely things that are happening on my screen right now. My absolute favorite magnesium is magnesium L-threonate, because as I mentioned, it can cross the blood-brain barrier and deliver magnesium directly to that brain, which, as you can imagine, is super, super helpful for kids with ADHD. And so that's why I absolutely love Mind Thrive Magnesium. It actually contains 2 forms of magnesium, and both of them are my favorite type. The first one is that magnesium L-threonate that crosses that blood-brain barrier, and the next one is magnesium Bisglycinate. Now, magnesium L-threonate, as I mentioned, it's superior to other forms because it does cross the blood-brain barrier, and magnesium Bisglycinate is one of the best absorbed forms of magnesium and can be super helpful with sleep, anxiety, and calming. So you can see how those 2 forms together, when they come together into one, make this my absolute favorite magnesium supplement on the market today, which is called Mind Thrive. So we love it for our children with ADHD because it can support brain health, it can support sleep, it can promote feelings of calm, it can help anxiety, and you can learn more about it or grab a bottle to try at the link in the show notes of this podcast, or if you're watching this, in the show notes down below. Now, you want to remember to start low and go slow and gradually increase to bowel tolerance. If you give too much of a dosage of magnesium, especially certain types of magnesium like magnesium citrate that I said earlier, it can create diarrhea. That's why magnesium citrate is actually very good if you've got constipation because it helps move those bowels. But remember, low and slow. Another thing to keep in mind is that it could take about a week, or for some people, it could even take up to 6 months to see any improvement in symptoms. But remember, it's not just the magnesium that is going to overly help our kids thrive. Now, finally, I want to throw out there some foods that are naturally high in magnesium. We have dark chocolate. Yes, yay. We have to remember, though, ensuring it is dairy-free. We've got fatty fish like salmon and halibut, nuts and seeds, leafy greens. Bananas are high in magnesium, avocados and legumes. I want to say nuts and seeds, a really good trick is to actually put them in a food processor, blend them up really, really fine, and you can sprinkle them on just about anything. You can sprinkle them on yogurt, dairy-free, of course. You can sprinkle on better for you cereals, overnight oats, really on anything in muffin mixtures, just so you can get a lot of that goodness of the nuts and seeds without them having to eat loads of nuts and seeds. Now, that is it for today's episode on magnesium. If you guys have any questions, be sure to reach out. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of the Soaring Child podcast. I'm Dana Kay, your ADHD health practitioner. Keep on thriving. Thank you for listening to the Soaring Child podcast today. To learn more about how to help your child with ADHD soar using natural strategies, visit our website at adhdthriveinstitute.com and follow us on social media at ADHD Thrive Institute.